bounce. He turns the corner, drives to the hole, banked up, got the back. Oh, what a shot.
All right, welcome back to the third and the last episode of the SEC Connect. I know. I feel like we've been on this journey, this epic adventure of SEC basketball, a total of 3 episodes. I feel like we've all just grown so close to each other. And I know SEC Connect after this episode is no longer going to exist. Good news. For those of you who actually care, the podcast isn't going away. I just have to make a new name. I got to rebrand. I'm not in trouble or anything, but I did. I was actually showing my friend. I was like, "Yo, you should check out my podcast. It's kind of new, so it might be a little." Anyways, it doesn't matter. I told him to check out the podcast. He asked what the name was. I told him SEC Connect. He looked it up. He was like, "Yo, you already have 300 followers," and I was like, "Wait, what?" So I went and checked. I was like, "No, I only got like 39." So I looked up SEC Connect. Sure enough, there's another podcast that has them. So if you are the owners of that podcast, I'm gonna go ahead and apologize. I wasn't doing it like as a way to I wasn't taking their name. I just didn't do my due diligence. Literally one Google search would have saved me all this trouble. Not even trouble, just having to rebrand. I could have just looked up and seen someone else has a podcast named this already. Pick a different name. So shout out to them. They do football though. I do basketball. I should hit them up in the DMs and be like, "Yo, you want to team up? I'll do basketball. You guys can cover football." But nah. I'm rebranding. I just don't want to get in any trouble. I don't want to cause any headache. So yeah. I can't wait. I'm gonna make you guys wait though. I can't wait, but I'm gonna make you guys wait. Next episode, I will be announcing the name, new logo, whatever. I will say it is a better, more fitting name for me. It's honestly more creative than the one I have now. The one I have now, not very creative. I just kind of came up with it in probably 30 seconds. But this new one, I took a little bit of brain power, put it together. Oh, I can't wait. I'm gonna go ahead and start off this episode with the. I guess I'll jump right into the title. All right. I'm here from the end of the episode. I forgot to mention this, but I am doing a tier list of the remaining 16 teams, the Sweet 16 teams. I'm going to rank a tier list in probability to win or my confidence on them to win. So I'm just going to slip this in at the intro of the video because I didn't mention this at the very beginning. So I'm going to throw this back in just so you guys know what's happening since it's not in the title and I didn't mention it. So I'm going to go right back. I clickbaited you guys. I don't really believe the SEC is ruining March Madness, but it is ruining March Madness brackets. The obvious one being Kentucky, getting beat out by Oakland. Too bad Oakland lost in the second round. I really wanted them to be this this just fun Cinderella team, but it didn't happen. Where are they on this bracket? Oh yeah, here we go. They lost to NC State. We'll talk about them later, obviously, but yeah, Kentucky. They just got outshot. That guy, I can't even pronounce his last name. We all know I'm talking about the white guy, the shooter. Everyone knows this stat. He's only shot 8 2-pointers this entire season and over 300 threes or something crazy like that. He's a shooter, and shoot. He shot them into that win. He did good in the second round too. But yeah, Kentucky. Man, on my original bracket, I think I had them going to the Final Four. My final bracket wasn't very good because the winners I had UNC and Texas making it to the final game. Texas lost in the second round. UNC is going strong. I will talk about them later. I feel good about that UNC pick. But yeah, the other big upset for the SEC that ruined brackets was Auburn, getting beat by Yale. That was a really unfortunate game for Auburn fans. They played so well into it. I'm looking at the totals. I mean, they shot a higher percentage than Yale. They didn't shoot more threes, so they shot 2 less threes, and their free throws was really the main problem. They only hit 15, while Yale had hit 21. Rebound numbers are almost identical. Their assist numbers almost identical. Steals, they did have more steals, but Auburn had more blocks. Auburn did have a little bit more turnovers, and the fouls were a little bit higher. But it came down to the very end of the game. Pretty much anyone who was watching that game, you saw. I think they had missed like a free throw that would have tied it up or something. Then they missed a three. Then they missed a couple of little bunny putbacks, something like that. It was a tough ending for Auburn fans. And Auburn was another team I had making them to the Elite Eight. So those two just busted my bracket like badly, really bad. Auburn had just come off of this and crazy, like, not Cinderella run, obviously, because they were one of the best teams, but their SEC run. The way that I think I mentioned this a lot last episode, they had won the three games they won by like convincing numbers. Like they beat the other team. They didn't win, they beat them. So to see them go out in the first round was like, I was caught off guard. The rest of the SEC, they weren't really upsets, but I know, where are they? Man, I can't find them. Why can I not find them right now? But yeah, Florida. I'm just gonna keep looking. I'm gonna talk about Florida. They didn't have what it took. Their guards played good, if I remember correctly. I don't know why I can't find them right now, but I don't even remember who they lost to. This is really bad podcasting right now, but I just can't find Florida right now. But they played decent. They pretty much just played the same ball they were playing. Here they were, Colorado. They played the same ball they were playing against in the SEC tournament. They scored. It's a really high scoring game, 102 to 100. Colorado is a team I am a big fan of. Too bad they lost in the second round as well. Another bracket buster, but I think I did have Colorado beating Florida. I mean, looking at the overall stats, Colorado just shot the ball better. Their rebounding numbers are pretty identical. Florida did get offensive rebounds though. Colorado got more defensive ones. So, but yeah, it was just an offensive shootout basically. They just ended up losing because they didn't score the more points. That was pretty much the moral of that story. What are some other SEC teams? Texas A&M just lost to Houston. That was that was such a fun game. I really wanted A&M to win, but that shot that Garcia hit at the very end, the buzzer beater. Wade Taylor hit a couple of clutch threes. We had Radford getting to the line, getting some layups in. It was a really fun game. I wanted A&M to win, just underdog. I'm an SEC guy. I wanted to see them win. Props to Houston. I'll talk about this later. I was about to say something about them, but I got to save that for the main segment of this episode. Who else was in this tournament for the SEC? Tennessee, they took care of business both games. They beat St. Peter's, almost doubling their points. Pretty close. They beat them by almost 40. And then they beat Texas, a lot closer of a game. Like I mentioned, I had Texas going to the finals. So that was a little bit of a heartbreaker, but they played really good. Not much else to say about Tennessee. Everyone knows who Tennessee is. Everyone knows they're good. Alabama is the next SEC team. And there was another high-scoring game whenever they played Charleston. Alabama and the SEC, they had the best offense and the worst defense, so it's pretty much a shootout. They beat Grand Canyon by 11 points. I don't know why that was so hard for me to do the math, but they beat Grand Canyon, a 12 seed. A 4 seed, you would expect them to beat the 4 seed. Hold on. You would expect the 4 seed to beat the 12 seed, and same with the Charleston game, you would expect the 4 seed to beat the 13 seed. So they avoided a couple of upsets. They do play North Carolina next. That's going to be interesting. I'll preview that here in a little bit, I believe. I might not. We'll see how I feel at the end of the podcast, at the end of the episode. My mind went blank there. But yeah, good offensive team. I've already said I've pretty much said everything I could say about these SEC teams. I mentioned them a lot in the last episode, and I believe that's everyone. I just want to double check I didn't miss anybody. South Carolina, they lost to Oregon. That was also a really bad game. Like just the overall stats, they were decently efficient. They were pretty efficient from three, but so was Oregon. They didn't get to the line as much, and they didn't shoot as many free throws. Rebound numbers were a lot lower. They just got out-muscled pretty much. You look at their team. Michi Johnson had his usual 24. BJ Mack 13. Talon Cooper with 15. I did dog on Talon Cooper a little bit in my last episode, but Colin Murray Boyles, he's a freshman. He didn't perform too well. He didn't perform bad, but you'd want a little bit more out of his production. But I don't know. I would assume he's returning. I haven't seen much draft buzz on him. I don't know if he's coming back. I haven't looked too much into it. Well, I'll do another episode on player movement and stuff with the SEC, but I believe he's staying back. Oregon, they had a guy who put up 40. I mean, if someone puts up 40 against you, you're probably not winning. And they had another guy put up 23. Yeah, it was just a tough game for South Carolina. They didn't really have much hope of winning that game. Just they just weren't put in a good spot. But yeah. I do want to mention, I need to get my anger out. Man, I've already mentioned it, but Kentucky, bro. Kentucky. I'm embarrassed, bro. I'm embarrassed by them and Auburn. Both of them. I went in saying Kentucky was the best team in the SEC. I said that last episode, maybe my first episode, actually. They play like an NBA team. Their offense is so good. Their defense was finally coming around. They have all these draft prospects, this draft hype. They have all the hype. It's Kentucky, a blue blood. This is Kentucky. And man, they went out there and pooped their pants, bro. They pooped their pants. Dude, I was so heated after they lost because, like, bro, this is an absolute bracket buster for everyone, not even just me. But, dude, out there I'm saying this is the best team. I'm blabbing. I'm yapping about how this team is so good. They lose the first round of the SEC tournament, and they lose the first round of the March Madness. I'm pretty sure most people have seen the stat where they're like 1-4 in their last 4 appearances in the SEC or the March Madness tournament. Like, what are we doing, bro? I've seen people going for John Calipari's head, saying that he needs to get quit or get fired. I don't think we should go that far. But it is a little bit of an ugly record. He's been there since like 2009 or something. He's had good records before. This is just, I don't know. Was there much he could have done? It was just his team didn't really perform. Shout out to Antonio Reeves. That's my guy. He shot the ball very well, especially at the end of that game. Rob Dillingham did all right. He had a few bad possessions, bad shots, but some of them went in. There was 1 3 he took at the very end of the game that went in, and I was like, he shouldn't have taken that, but it went in. And then Reeves. No, not Reeves. Why can I not remember his name right now? They're freshmen. They're 2 freshmen, Wagner and bro, I don't know why can I remember their names right now. Those other 2 freshmen didn't do very good. I talked Highland and Wagner and Reed Shepherd. That was really bad. Reed Shepherd only put up 13. Wagner scored 0. Rob Dillingham put up 10. So he wasn't too good. He was very inefficient. 2 for 9 from the field and 2 for 6 from 3. Not very good. But Antonio Reeves put up 27. He was really efficient. 11 for 18. 5 for 9 from 3. Agneso, he was playing some really good defense. He got 5 blocks. He got this 4 rebounds, 2 offensive. Big offensive rebounds too. Trey Mitchell was out there getting rebounds as well with 4 offensive and 9 defense. Sorry about that. But they just didn't really have enough punching power. Other than Trey Mitchell and Antonio Reeves, no one else really scored. Edwards had 10, so he put up a little bit. But other than that, and Rob Dillingham, I say he had 10. But you look at everyone else on the team, you got 4 from Yen, so you don't really expect him to score. But 0 from Wagner, 3 from Bradshaw. You got 0 from Shepherd. Thiero got 3 from Shepherd, 3 from Visic, and you got 2 from Thiero. Sorry, I was not reading very good there. It's just not. Bradshaw got his 3 points in only 3 minutes, so I guess you can't really fault him there. He made his 1 shot he took, and he hit 1 out of 2 free throws. Just not enough scoring. It was a really poor offense performance off of a team that has such a lethal offense where they make all of their shots. They have a bunch of scores. They have a bunch of just shifty guards, people who can make their threes, take their threes, get in the inside, mid-range. They have everything on the offense, and they couldn't put it together. That's the main reason they lost. Now Auburn, the other bracket buster. I had just talked about how Auburn they had been crowned the best team in the SEC after they won the SEC tournament, and so in the fashion they did, I had crowned them. They're the best team. They had just won 3 games, just dominated the competition. I expected them to come in and just start whooping up on people and beating them. They didn't do that. They lost to Yale. They lost to a bunch of nerds. A bunch of nerds is what they lost to. No, I'm just kidding. But they played a pretty good game, but it was pretty much Janai Broom versus the world. Chad Baker-Mazara fouled out really early with the flagrant 2. That you could say that hurt them, but they have other people who can play basketball. You got 17 from Jones. You got 13 from Jalen Williams. I mean, they did have some scores, but once again off the bench, you only got 5 from Trey Donaldson, 7 from Katie Johnson. You only got 5 from Chaney Johnson, 3 from Moore. You only got 2 from Dylan Cardwell, but he's not, like I've said in the last episode, he's not out there to score. But he really didn't play that much. Only 13 minutes for him, only 14 for Chaney. He did have a cool dunk in the game, so I'll give him that. You only got 13 from Aiden Holloway. He scored 0 points. He 0 for 5 from the field, 0 for 3 from three-point, and didn't shoot any free throws. He had no assists. He was pretty not really doing much this game. He pretty much had a stinker of a game, very similar to the DJ Wagner game. I mean, they're freshmen. They're in a big tournament. Spotlight is very bright. But, I mean, Auburn as a team only had 3 blocks. You don't normally see that with Auburn. They normally get at least 6. It feels like Janai Broome is good for 3. You can get at least 2 out of Cardwell. And Jalen Williams and someone else is going to get a block. I don't know what else is there to say. Katie Johnson, there was one possession where he was running the ball up the floor. One thing about Katie Johnson, if he gets the ball in transition, he's running. He is running. He ran the ball up, lost it, had a turnover. That was big. And then obviously the missed free throws from Donaldson, I believe, and then had a missed 3 from Donaldson, a missed putback from Janai Broome, and missed putback from Donaldson. It was a bad sequence. They had a lot of chances that they could have won this game, and they just didn't. I feel bad for the Auburn fans, but I feel bad for myself for picking them. Auburn fans had to go through that. I talked to a few Auburn fans. Obviously, they're not going to have their feelings hurt for days, but they got over it quick. But obviously, there was a bit of a negative feeling about that. But yeah, that's my SEC rant. I want to talk about some other teams that I was very high on. One of those teams being Colorado. They have one of my favorite players, Jalen Williams' brother, Cody Williams. I love him. I really love him a lot. He reminds me so much of Jalen Williams. I love both those guys. Those are 2 really good players, but obviously Jalen Williams is good. But Cody Williams, I think I've seen him get projected a draft from the second overall draft pick to 13. He's a wide range. He is a very raw prospect. He reminds me a lot of like I have so many names on my mind right now. The small Wagner. Oh my gosh, I can't remember his name. Small forward for the Orlando Magic. Wagner, not Mo Wagner, his brother. Oh my gosh, I can't remember his name right now. But he reminds me a lot of him. Whenever he was coming into the league, he has all the physical tools. He's a very lanky player. Not lanky, but he's a big player. He played point guard a lot that game. I haven't watched much Colorado overall. I've watched a lot of his highlights, but he took the ball down a lot, played point guard. He's a big player. I think he's like 6'6", 6'7", maybe. Very athletic. He can shoot the ball. And hopefully you'd like to see him get drafted, and then he develops that skill set a little bit more, refines his ball handling, can get to that mid-range. I need to look up this Orlando Magic small forward, Franz Wagner. Bro, it's so late. I had to wait till all the games finished to upload this. That's where my mind is at right now. I want to talk about the Texas and Colorado game. That was a really low-scoring game because I had mentioned I had Texas going all the way. There were so many tie-ups, like jump balls, people grabbing at it. I've never seen that many jump balls in the game before. And if I believe this is the correct game I'm thinking of, it was also one of the worst officiated games I've ever seen. I'm pretty sure it was this game. Man, I don't know. It was hard for me to watch a lot of these games because they played on a weekend. I could watch Thursday, and that was pretty much the only day I could watch all of the games. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's a weekend. I wasn't able to sit down and watch games the whole time. I tried, though. I really did try. Let's see if there's any other games I remember. I talked about the Florida-Colorado game. Obviously, I am surprised there haven't been any upsets with the top seeds. There were a few. Were there any 2 seeds that fell? No. Looks like all the 2 seeds and 1 seeds made it. Yeah. That's not rare. I'm not really surprised by that, but NC State looks like they are really one of the lowest teams. So let's start with NC State. The Duquesne BYU game. That was a good game. I picked Duquesne to upset BYU, and I know that was I think it might have been the first upset of the tournament, so they got a lot more coverage than the other ones. But yeah, other than that, San Diego State and UAB. I just want to talk about Eric Gaines. I've been a big fan of him. I saw a highlight reel of him last year, and ever since then, I'm like, bro, he's so good. He only put up 14 this game, but he is really good. I just want to give him a little bit of some attention, because a lot of people don't know about Eric Gaines. Do not sleep on Eric Gaines. I'm telling you, do not sleep on him. Those are just some players I wanted to highlight. So let's get to NC State. I was making a list of all of the potential Cinderella teams I had. I had Oakland. I had NC State. I had James Madison. Colorado, if they would have beat Marquette. They were a little iffy because they are a 10 seed, not your stereotypical. Oregon. But usually those Cinderella, Grand Canyon. Usually those Cinderella games are little small schools that no one's heard of. Duquesne is another one. All of them got knocked out except for NC State. They're the only one who has the potential to make a Cinderella. Oh my gosh, a Cinderella run. And I think they do have the potential. They play Marquette next. I could see them beating Marquette. Marquette, they don't get rebounds. They average 32 per game. Their offensive rebounds are at 8, but over this tournament in their past few games, they haven't been rebounding like that. They're a little more efficient than NC State. They get to the line a little bit more, but they're less efficient from the line. Obviously Marquette's gonna be favored to win, but I think in terms of making a Cinderella run, they have a really good path there. Because once they get to Houston or Duke, whoever wins that game, obviously it's gonna be a dogfight. But Elite Eight, does that count as a Cinderella run? I don't know. I think they could beat Marquette. I could see them beating Duke. I don't think they're gonna beat Houston. But they could. You never know. That's pretty much the only team who has that Cinderella. Because like I mentioned, everyone else is like the 1, 2, 3. You have a few 4 seeds and you have a 6 seed. So that is that for just a quick little bracket overview. So I do want to apologize. I wasn't able to upload my official bracket picking, like who I picked to win the bracket. I just feel like everyone else does it, and I want to kind of keep a consistent upload schedule, at least in the off season. I want to upload on either Monday or Tuesday, every Monday or Tuesday. And I would have had to upload that on like a Thursday. I guess I could have just uploaded a quick short video on it, but I just didn't. Never got around to it. I guess it wouldn't have been Thursday. I would have had to do it. I would have recorded that Tuesday and uploaded it Wednesday. I would have had to do. So that's that. Or I guess I could have. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I didn't upload it. I'm sorry about that. If you guys wanted to see that, tough. So that is that for my March Madness coverage. I don't think I had any more notes I wanted to talk about. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the main segment of this episode today. Now that I've got my rants out, I've talked about some of the teams I like, some players I like. Let's pull it up real quick. All right, here we are with I'm going to be ranking on a tier list. I probably should have mentioned this at the top of the episode. I don't know why I didn't mention this, because now no one knows that this is happening. I'm going to go ahead and say something real quick just so it can be clipped out and put at the front of the episode. All right, so now that I'm back, I just did that little thing. Sorry, I don't know why I forgot to mention that. But yeah, I'm ranking these teams. I will be honest, like I said, I wasn't able to watch as many games as I would like. So a lot of these teams, I will be basing it just off of teams they've played so far and how badly they beat them. So yeah, I don't have much of a, other than the SEC teams, you have Tennessee and Alabama. I've watched a lot of them. I watched Duke, Purdue, Houston I watched a lot of. North Carolina, I've already mentioned that I've watched a lot of them. And I think that's pretty much it for teams I've watched. I watched a little bit of San Diego State and Marquette. So let's get right into it. We're going to start off with Illinois. I believe they're the 3rd seed. I'm going to pull up some of the teams they've played. Morehead State is a 14 seed, and they've beat 2 lower seeds pretty convincingly. They weren't close games, so that is good for, that is a good look for them. So yeah. I haven't watched too much of them, so I'm not too confident in them. I'm only putting them in a B just because, like I said, I haven't watched much of them. And then Iowa State, I believe they're the 2 seed. They did beat Washington State pretty good, pretty convincingly, which is a 7 seed, and they beat South Dakota by a lot, which is a 15 seed. From what I've heard and seen about Iowa State, They are one of the 2 seeds that people aren't too confident in, just like looking at Reddit threads. But then again, I do see people putting them as a potential winner. I haven't seen really many brackets pick them as a winner either. So I got to kind of put them in the same tier as Illinois. This is kind of a cop-out, but I just haven't been able to watch these teams. The next team is NC State. I just talked about them a little bit. They're a good team. They really are. Like I said, they have that potential to be a Cinderella story. But once again, they're an 11th seed. It's going to be really hard to go through a lot of these teams. I mean, you have Purdue, you have UConn, you have North Carolina, Houston, Tennessee. They have a lot of teams that they would have to potentially beat to win the tournament. I'm not too confident in them doing that, so I'm going to put them in C. I feel like that is a fair spot for them. I don't want to put them any lower than that because, like I said, they have that Cinderella potential. They're on a really good run. They're not a team that I'm just looking at like, I don't know. They're a good team. The next team, a team I've watched a lot of, in North Carolina. So I can't actually put analysis. I can't do an analysis on this team because I've watched them a lot. Their defense is, I think their defense last I checked was a little bit above average. But their offense, every time it's insane watching them play because they manage to get an open shot almost every single possession. Almost every possession they get an open shot. So the chances of them winning is just, are they going to hit their shots? And they have really efficient shooters. So I think they are going to hit their shots. And like I said, I put them up in that S tier. I think they are a team that I'm really confident. I'm really only going to save that spot for about 2 or 3 teams. Maybe only 2 teams, really. We'll get there. But North Carolina, they are an S tier team. Gonzaga, I haven't watched much of them either. I'm going to pull up some of the teams they've played with Gonzaga. The Zags. Here we are. So they beat Kansas, which was a good win, but Kansas played really bad this game. They beat McNeese. A lot of people did have McNeese winning as an upset. I actually had that game as well. But they played Purdue. I don't see them getting through Purdue. Let me pull up what their centers are for Gonzaga. So they don't really have a true center. They do have a couple of forwards who don't really rebound that well. I mean, they rebound about average, but they don't get blocks. I don't know. With them playing Purdue, I might put them in that C tier as well. They have a really hard path to get there. They have to beat Purdue. Not confident in them. Arizona. Okay, so this whole top that whole top list is teams I haven't really watched. So it's kind of hard for me to give an analysis for them. But with Arizona, they were one of the earlier games that day, so I didn't get to watch them. But they beat Long Beach, a 15 seed. You expect them to beat them. They had a little bit of a closer game with Dayton, who was on a hot streak after they beat Nevada. They didn't beat them too well, but they do play Clemson next, and then they have to play either North Carolina or Alabama. I would assume North Carolina would win that game, but we don't know for sure. Either team that they beat, I wouldn't really assume them to get past those 2 teams. I would assume they get past Clemson, but it just depends on who they play. So this is a team I'm going to go ahead and slot in at that A tier because I could very well see them making a deep run and winning it. It just depends on who they play, really. Next team is Creighton. I did take a couple notes on this team. I feel like Creighton every year is like the exact same. They're going to shoot. They're going to play a little bit of defense. They play fast. What more do you want from them? They're a shooting team. I will say, majority of their team, it is a stereotype that a majority of their team is European. They have a bunch of white guys on their team, so they live up to the the white guy stereotype in basketball. They're going to shoot the ball, and they're going to shoot it really good with a really perfect form. But I'm not too confident in this Creighton team. They're the first team to go into the D tier because if they have one bad shooting night, they're out. They're not winning the game. And if I look at who they've played so far, they beat Oregon, which was a good win, and they beat They beat Akron. They beat Akron by 17. They beat Oregon by a good amount. They win games, but they have to go through Tennessee and Purdue. They are the first team I'm putting in that D tier. Sorry, Creighton fans, if you disagree with me. I might look like a fool and they might win the whole tournament. I don't know, but they look like a D team to me. I don't think they have much of a chance. So that's Creighton. Next team is Tennessee. Excuse me, by the way, I'm going to have a bad cough. You might have noticed that. I just have bad allergies right now, but enough of that. Tennessee. They are pretty much the Dalton Connect show right now. They have good bigs. Jonas Adu and Awaka are some good bigs. I don't even know if Awaka's a big. He's more of a forward, but they have some good defensive bigs down low. They have Zakai Ziegler running the defensive point. They have a good defense. I believe they had the second defense in the SEC, and their offense was pretty high up there as well. Them winning really, really depends on if Dalton Connect has a good shooting performance. And if he doesn't, can someone else step up? And you saw it in the SEC tournament, and a lot of the games they lose, it's because Dalton Connect doesn't do what he does. So for that reason, I got to put them in that B tier, because if Dalton Connect, this is a team I haven't really been high on at all this year or last year. If Dalton Connect doesn't score, they're not winning. And it's pretty much as simple as that. So yeah, the next team is Marquette. They are a team that doesn't rebound very well, and they don't get to the line as much as you would like them to. They are a good shooting team, but because this is the March Madness tournament, they don't do those two things that you would love out of, like, in a dogfight tournament game. You want rebounds and you want to get to the free throw line. I don't see them making it much further, so they're the next team to make it to that D tier. Sorry, Marquette fans, once again. I'm sorry about that. Alabama. They had the best offense in the SEC and the worst defense. I've already mentioned this. So, what does that mean? I like to compare them to the obviously they're, in terms of their competition, they are better than the Pacers in the NBA, but they run a pretty similar scheme. They run fast, they score, they don't really defend that well. But they can defend. They definitely can. But once again, in a tournament game, if your shots aren't falling, what are you going to do? If you can't defend, what are you going to do? You can't really hold the other team to a lower point overall. So I got to put them in that C tier. They definitely have the weapons with Mark Sears leading the SEC in points per game. I just don't see it with this team. I don't know. There's just something about them. They're missing something. And that something is a secondary scorer that can go out and get his own bucket. They have an amazing system. They have one of the best offensive coaches in the league. I just don't see them doing the thing, getting that championship. I just don't see them doing it this year. Shout out NATO, shout out Mark Sears, good team. I just don't see them doing that. Clemson, another team I haven't watched, so we got to go to the record board. Excuse me. So they beat New Mexico, 11th seed. I think this might have been an upset I picked. 77-56. It was a good game for them. New Mexico, it was not a good game for them. So they pretty much just won because they defended New Mexico and kept them from scoring. And their Baylor game, that was a good game. That Baylor win is a really good win for them. It proves that they can beat better competition. Unfortunately for Clemson, they have to beat either Arizona, then they have to beat North Carolina or Alabama. They have a really hard path for them. And Alabama having to beat North Carolina, that's another reason that I put them in a lower rank. So with Clemson, I'm not too confident in them. I'm going to go ahead. Pardon that. I'm going to go ahead and move them. Pardon that again. I'm going to go ahead and move them into the that C tier. I just don't think they're going to do that. I'm going to do a quick little tier breakdown. S tier means that they have, I'm so confident in them winning. A tier means that they could win if they get their, if it just lines up perfectly. Not perfectly, but if they get a good little break and they go on a little streak, they can win. B tier means things almost have to be perfect. They have a good chance, but they're pretty much right in the middle of all the teams, obviously, at that B tier. C tier means they literally have to have everything perfect. They have to have the top team win, or like the teams that are higher seeds that could beat them have to lose, and they just have to go on a good streak at the right time. They have to catch fire at the right time. Lightning in a bottle, if you will. D tier teams means I have zero confidence in them winning. There is no F tier just because I think all these teams, obviously they made it to the Sweet 16, they have a chance of winning. So it's not a 0% chance. I don't think they have a chance of winning. So now that is broken down, sorry this has been kind of unorganized. Like I said, it's late. I'm just trying to get this out. But Purdue. a really good team. Obviously, they have the player of the year, or at least who I think will be player of the year, Zach Edey. He is such a good post player. He's a big guy. You don't see guys that big that are built. Usually guys that are that big and mobile are really wiry, but guys that big and built that are mobile, you don't see that ever. The only problem with Purdue is if it's not Zach Edey, who else is it on the offensive end that can go out and create buckets? Because it's pretty much give it to Zach Edey, let him back down. He might score or he might draw a double team. Someone's open. If it's not Zach Edey, who is it? If you have the right coach and the right personnel on the other team, they can scheme against Zach Edey and force other people to score. And so for that reason, they go in the A tier. But they do have a team that can win. So I'm not going to put them any lower than that A tier. They're not going any lower than that. I'm not confident enough to put them up in that S tier, but I'm definitely not hating on them enough to put them in the B tier. And then the next team I'm going to review is Duke. Dookie, Pookie, Dookie. They did just beat... Who did they beat? They just beat James Madison, which is a 12 seed, and they had a Vermont, which is a 13 seed. They beat both these teams convincingly, so it's kind of hard to judge them. I did watch the Duke games. They are a 3-point happy team. Let me pull up this James Madison game because they shot 50% and they shot 28 threes. They were just shooting the lights out of the ball. Shout out Jared McCain. He had a really good game this year. As a freshman, you don't see that very often. Put up 30 points. He 8 for 11 from the 3-point line. Really, really good game from Jared McCain. Shout out Proctor, shout out Roach, 2 very good scorers. They have a really good offense. It just comes down if their defense can hold up to it. So I want to put them like in between these 2 tiers. I don't know with A and B. I want to hate on them because they're Duke, but I want to give them the respect in A, but I want to save A. So I'm going to put them in B. But they could very well be in A. So they're kind of a right on the edge team, but I'll go ahead and slot them in at that B tier. UConn, what do I say about UConn? They are everyone's favorite to win S tier. They're not gonna win, but they look like the perfect team. Obviously, the perfect team doesn't always win. You look at Alabama last year; they didn't win. Everyone thought they were the perfect team, but UConn. What else can I say about them? They are the perfect team. San Diego State. My only concern about them is their offense. They have a really good defense. I believe they held both their teams to really low numbers. Let me pull those numbers up. Yeah, 57 points from Yale, 85 from UAB. But they have to beat UConn. And that's going to be a hard one for them. They have to beat UConn, then they have to go through Illinois. They have to get their next game. I think it's going to be hard for them to win. But if they do win, they have a good shot. So I'm going to go ahead and throw them in that B tier, where things have to almost be perfect, but not really. Because if they beat UConn, who is stopping that team? And the very last team is the team I just talked about. They just played A&M, a beautiful game. I'm going to go back and watch that probably for the rest of my life. That was such a good game. Man, I was so hyped with Garcia. I really wanted A&M to win. And if they did win, I probably would have put them in that C tier. They're another team, things would have to be perfect, but they didn't win. And Houston is this last team. I'm going to go ahead and slot them in that A tier, but I'm going to go ahead and explain why. They are such a good defensive team, but you also have to wonder, is that offense going to come around? Obviously, they have been playing good offense. They put up 100 against A&M, but then again, A&M's not a defensive team. Put up 86 against Longwood. I believe their Duke game is going to be a weird game. I think it's going to be a mid-scoring game because you have an offensive team versus a defensive team. I do want to say, shout out to Houston's coach. I don't know. He took 2 of their last timeouts at the end of regulation, at the end of overtime. He took their last timeouts to, instead of running an offensive play, which you normally see, he took timeouts to run defensive plays or to get their defensive scheme correct. You don't normally see that, and that was kind of mind-boggling. Like, you don't normally see coaches do that, and it worked out for them. They ended up winning the game. What can I say? That's a really interesting coaching decision, but it worked out, and it's kind of impressive that it worked out the way it did. So yeah, they're an A tier. if they can make it past UConn, or I guess they don't really have to make it past UConn yet. They have to make it past NC State, Marquette, or Duke, and that is really good odds for Houston to make it far. So I definitely have them in A. I think they have a good chance of making it to the championship game, Final Four. Definitely make the Final Four. I could see that, but I could see them making the championship game, and they got to get their UNC or UConn. I'm not sure about that, if they can do that. So this right here is my tier rankings for all of the Sweet 16 teams. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Sorry, Creighton. Sorry, Marquette. Sorry to NC State, Gonzaga. Sorry to Alabama and Clemson. You can hate on me. Like I said, a lot of these teams I haven't really watched. So these are just kind of based off of vibes, to be honest. Vibes, teams they've played already, their play style. That's what I got there. I appreciate you guys for watching. For watching. It's a bit of a rough episode, but I cannot wait for the announcement of the rebrand for the next one. Got me hyped, got me amped, got me pumped up. I'm ready for it. You know what I mean? But yeah, I cannot wait for that. I'm gonna have to redesign the logo. It's probably gonna look the same. It's just gonna say the new name. I might change it up. We'll see. Might change up the colors. We'll see. I'm gonna do something fun with it. But yeah, for now, stick in for the next episode. It'll be a good one. I'm gonna probably just be reviewing. At that point, I believe it should be down to the Final Four. So I'm gonna preview that. Each game, I'm gonna predict who I think is gonna make it. I might drop a short episode tomorrow or the day after this is uploaded, because they're doing the second chance bracket where you can remake a bracket from the Sweet 16 on, and I think I'm thinking I might do that. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make up a quick little episode. I'm gonna post it probably tomorrow, the day after this is uploaded. So probably either Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll see. I want to get that uploaded before the Sweet 16 starts officially. But yeah, I cannot wait for that rebrand. I appreciate you guys for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, share with your friends if you liked it. You don't have to. I don't care. But yeah, stay tuned for the next episode and have a good night, guys.